Thanks for coming. So this is the first SALI meeting without Toby Brown, I think, ever. And he's traveling now, and he's got a personal thing to deal with. So I'm hosting, and just want to thank you all for coming. This is a great panel. My name is Jim Hannigan, Director of Legal Project Management at Cobblins, Patch, Duffy & Bass in San Francisco. I've been involved with SALI for many years. And I was going to say, in the first few years, we typically were talking about what we were doing, what SALI was doing but this is all about what people are doing with SALI, and we're very, very excited about that. And it's a wide range of use cases, implementations, and our goal is at SALI is to build more of these examples of people doing real things with the codes when you're going to hear about it. So there's so much to talk about. I want to move on, and also thank Denis here, who's done an amazing job of getting together this group and identifying people that have done real work, and we'll talk about it, and thank him very much for this, because it's, we're all volunteers. It's not a problem. We don't have time to, it's not a full, we have other day jobs, so a day job. So with Denis's work here, it'd be really hard to pull off. So anyway, thanks, Denis. So take it away.
Thanks very much, Jim. So as Jim said, we've got a fantastic panel of firms and vendors that are in various stages of implementing SALI, and they'll talk to you about what they've been doing. By way of introduction, I think I just would like to deliver basically one message, which is that, as with so many other areas of law, the onset of LLMs have really just been transformative to the world of SALI and taxonomies. Let me get the slides. So SALI has been around now, I think it's 8 years, is that right, Jim? And the core concept is pretty compelling. So, multiple firms, 30, 40 different firms, vendors, clients have got together and developed an incredibly useful set of taxonomies that everyone can agree are super useful, and it's work that you don't need to duplicate in every single firm. And so there's always been, at a theoretical level, really compelling reasons to start adopting single taxonomies across the industry. The challenge has always been around, how do you implement them? I mean, obviously there's resistance to change as you get with anything, but also it's really a lot of work to actually implement, label up your entities. And so the arrival of LLMs have just really transformed these equations. And the way we think in SALI about LLMs is basically as an enabling technology similar to, basically what Wi-Fi was, what broadband was to Netflix, what smartphones were to Uber. It was just technologies that needed to exist before they could really take off. So now, within the last year or so, SALI has really started to take flight due to this enabling technology of LLMs. And just to give you a very basic heuristic about how this how much of an impact this has, from speaking to various different firms, in terms of their actual time commitment to labeling up, for example, matters. If you want to label 10,000 matters with SALI codes, and you're doing that manually with a well-trained human data steward, basically 10,000 codes can be done in about a year. An agent can, a day is what we put, but obviously if you have, we can make it faster than that. So it's orders of magnitude quicker. And also, unlike human data stewards, they're extremely consistent. There's no Friday afternoon work from LLMs. They're just very, very consistent way to label data. So this has been transformative to how firms can now approach the SALI taxonomies. And also, it's meant that a number of different vendors are now investing in the SALI taxonomies and entering the market. So over the last year or so, we've had interaction of started working with firms using SALI industry codes. And Integrata, they've designed a sort of legal specific data schema for their data lakehouse, and specifically designed SALI codes into that. My firm, which I'm a co-founder of Index, has built a suite of agents available via APIs that label SALI industry codes, SALI areas of law, SALI services, and law.com, we're going to hear from Vanessa, have embedded SALI courts codes into their new radar product. So basically, the SALI has really seen a big boost over the last 12 to 18 months in terms of actual adoption. So the concepts behind it have always been extremely high quality, but now it's just much easier to use them in your firms. So we've got 4 case studies, sort of the moving on the journey of adoption. So first off, I'm going to hand it over to Renee, who's sort of early in the stages of adopting SALI, and then we'll sort of walk through to firms that are later and later in their adoption cycle. So first off, to talk about her journey with SALI is Renee from Dickinson Wright. And if I can, Renee, I'm going to there we go.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm Renee Morris. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Data Strategy at Dickinson Wright, which is a law firm of about 500 attorneys across the U.S. and in Canada. We started our data journey officially in June of 2019. That was when Dickinson Wright really made the decision to invest in data as an asset. And we formed a separate function. At that point, it was just me. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what that journey's been like and where we're at with the SALI coding, which is very early for us. So going into our data strategy, we wanted to really find a way to efficiently collect and store and organize our data, as well as make that data easily accessible and retrievable for analytics and all the use cases that have come up since then, such as AI, pricing, BD, all of those areas that our data is crucial to. So the first problem we had to solve was we had data siloed in various systems, and we wanted to find a way to bring that data together so that it was just a little bit more accessible and consistent. Anybody who works with data and has to go after data in separate systems knows how technically challenging that can be sometimes. Not that it's impossible, but it can go very slowly. So we wanted to solve that. And the other issue with that is each of those systems is being maintained by a different team. And sometimes those teams don't have the same sensitivity as far as like how important a piece of data is. So we were finding, and we knew things were happening, like we would onboard an attorney and they would be bringing in a new practice area for us. And our marketing team would go ahead and add that to our CRM and our public website, but accounting wouldn't add it to our accounting system. So there's gaps in our taxonomy, even system to system. So we partnered with Integrata, which was a startup. We were actually their first client. We had searched for other vendors, even outside of legal, to help us build a data warehouse or a data lakehouse, and really couldn't find quite the right fit. And they've been a great partnership for us. And what they've developed is a legal model that we can map our data into. And part of that model is separate infrastructure for housing SALI codes for things like service, area of law, the codes that we're starting out with at least. And that solved a couple problems for us because once we got all the data into the lakehouse, now we're starting to easily compare data across systems, finding out where our gaps in quality are, and we're working to correct those. And the first thing we were starting out with is the taxonomy. So the problem with implementing a new taxonomy at a law firm is twofold. One, some of the systems that taxonomy has to go in just don't accommodate the complexity of how some of our matters and clients have to be coded. And I'm trying to say this politically correctly. So you don't know how passionate people are about their taxonomy until you try to change it on them. And I remember sitting in a room early on, and we had decided, we're gonna take our taxonomy and we're just gonna revise it. We're gonna, just try to make it better on our own. And we weren't aware of SALI way back when we were doing this. And we spent about 3 hours, got through about 20 codes out of our 400 and something, and realized like, yeah, we can't accommodate every use case. What happens when a matter has a little bit of this and this and this? Or I remember distinctly someone saying to me, good luck, try getting code number 438 away from this attorney, because they're not going to have it. So, and then I realized like, oh, this is going to be a much bigger political discussion than the data people seem to want it to be, I guess.
Just to say, Renee, that like in SALI, we obviously talk to loads and loads and loads of firms all the time about, how that is just an absolutely common, like I would say across the board, that is one of the major blockers that we used to receive all the time.
Yeah, it's really hard to, find a taxonomy that exists that, covers every use case and is perfect. And I don't think we'll ever quite get it perfect, but, this is a huge step in the right direction. And the other problem with it is, okay, it took us 3 hours to just talk about those 20 codes. We hadn't even started coding matters and clients yet. And based on the slide that you just showed, like that would have taken us for, hundreds of thousands of clients and matters. That would have taken us 60 years. I could retire doing that. So it just wasn't something that we could move forward then. But as the technology has evolved, with the introduction of LLMs and AI and, it's just made this a much more accessible project for us. So those hundreds of thousands of clients and matters that would have taken us years to code, we probably will have coded in about 5 weeks. So it really, like the partnership with Integrata and being able to house that taxonomy separate from our homegrown taxonomy, so we don't have to have the lawyers give up what they're attached to quite yet until they see what we're able to produce and build trust in that. That's a win. And then the partnership with Index is really going to help us get there much quickly than we ever could have in the past.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Renee. And you spoke to a number of different areas then, and one of them, which I think speaks directly to our next speaker and our next case study, is all around the fact that you'll never, or it's just too much of a lift to try and get entire organizations, certainly entire law firms, to shift taxonomies all at once. So for our next case study, we have Duane and Eddy talking about the work that Interaction did to help one case with that very issue around, they're obviously all big firms have legacy taxonomies. There's so many different reports and dashboards linked to them, and which has been, as we've said, traditionally a big barrier to adopting new sets of taxonomies like SALI. So, would you like to introduce yourself and
Duane, Eddy. I'm Global Head of Advisory Services for LexisNexis Interaction. I've been doing this for 25 years, or more than 25 years. So I've seen a lot, and I understand the situation that Renee is talking about because Ed White and Case is very similar to that. White and Case developed their own taxonomy. Many firms have done, and they've used it for a while, so it's very ingrained in the processes and the reporting and things like that. So that change management is really hard. So in order to bring in those new taxonomies, the system has to be flexible enough not to disrupt what's happening right now. So if you see the slide here, this is a good example of the difference between the NICS codes or the White and Case codes and the SALI codes, where the SALI codes add a level of complexity that they didn't have before. So if you think about how you would use industry codes, they're used in CRM, how you segment your clients or prospects, or even the reporting or understanding what you've done in business development, what works and what doesn't work. But they're realizing that that's not good enough, and they need a level of
complexity to add to that. So they were able to use with help from Index to be able to bring in those SALI codes while still maintaining the current white and case codes and even the next codes, right? So Interaction is built in a way that makes that very easy to do. It's very flexible. So, I mean, you can get very complicated with that. You can have a primary code and a secondary code, and you can have different levels and multiple codes under, with larger companies like that. So Interaction is built that way to be able to handle that. But again, it's not disrupting what's going on right now. And Nix is doing it in an automated way so that they don't have to go in and do anything. So I'll let Denis explain the process that they use to bring in those codes.
Sure. And I mean, from the SALI sort of perspective, it's just so valuable that vendors like Interaction or Integrata are like constructing their data schemas or providing enough flexibility in their system so that we can just easily add the extra columns, if you like, the extra codes. So it's a fairly simple process that can be done pretty quickly because they're sort of partnering now. The ecosystem's growing, and so various different vendors are all making their products sort of SALI proof, if you like. And yet, the way that Wine Case, as Duane has said, we're able to handle that issue of legacy sort of taxonomies is just by simply maintaining them. So there's LLM models that label using the legacy codes, and there's LLM models that label using the SALI code taxonomies. So it can keep on, like, we hope one day maybe some of those the legacy data sets will get sunset. But the point is, it doesn't have to happen anytime soon. Like it's cost effective, it's easy just to keep on maintaining multiple different taxonomies for multiple different stakeholders. Because the LLMs do the work now, the friction in doing that is so much reduced. So much of the change management that was a big problem in the past can now be dealt with in a pretty straightforward way. And just another sort of that we saw that once we were able to provide within Interaction these very granular data sets of industry coding, it actually then becomes a very attractive data set for other areas of the firm to use. So this is an instance where Wine Case they've just principally adopted industry codes. So it's only one sort of area of the firm, but that coding was done so well that it's starting to get used by other areas outside of BD and marketing. So it was, it's a big proof point, I guess, for the quality of the coding and what they've been able to do to address that problem. So the third case study is Benesch, who are sort of further along in their adoption of SALI codes because they've coded up not just their clients, but also a lot of their matters. So they have an even broader sort of experience of using SALI codes. And again, this has all happened relatively recently. It's all just been enabled by the fact that now you can label up very quickly. So firms have been able to make these decisions and implement so much quicker. But so I'm very pleased to introduce the Benesch team. First off is Marcie.
Thanks, Denis. So hi, I'm Marcie Valerio. I'm the Director of Client Value and Practice Management at Benesch, and this is Bryce Basista. He is our analytics guru and our right-hand person when it comes to anything data related. We actually approached our SALI coding completely differently than Renee. Our data is still siloed. Our firm has grown really quickly. We went from about 100 attorneys 10 years ago to about 500 attorneys now. And unfortunately, our operations sophistication hasn't kept up with our growth. So we still have a lot of the old way of doing things kind of embedded in a lot of our departments. So we decided that with the permission of our CIO, just blap them. So what we did was we took a look. Actually, this was started by our BD team, this entire concept, because they really needed industry information. And so we tried to manually apply NAICS codes to all of our larger clients. It was a huge resource-heavy project. It took about 18 months to complete. It involved people from about 4 different departments. And at the end of the day, it wasn't great. And it required constant manual upkeep. So once we learned that we could use LLM technologies to apply industry codes to our clients, we launched that project pretty quickly. We got a sign off on the budget pretty quickly. And between Q3 2024 and now, we've applied industry codes to all of our clients and all of our matters over a certain fee threshold. And we're able to use that data in so many different ways. I do want to mention that it's probably important for you to really think about how you want to use the data. There's gazillions of SALI codes. So really think about what 2 or 3 or 4 do I need to implement right now that will be the most impactful, that will allow me to get the most buy-in from management, and then you can build from there. And that's kind of what we've done.
Bryce, do you want to talk a bit about the data? I'm thinking that I might have accidentally deleted in a fit of changing between Google Slides and PowerPoint your slides. So if you could act out your data. So data structure, that would be very helpful to us.
So
apologies for online viewers.
Then
So ultimately, I was going to talk about how our data is standardized and integrating across all our applications. So our applications, that would be your source systems. And the source systems that we're really what we're using is our intakes and conflicts. So when new matters open, when new clients open, we're able to apply those SALI codes. So for clients, we're able to immediately have an industry code to that, and then we're able to then, a sector and industry code to that. And then as far as for our new matters, we're able to apply our area of law and our service codes. And you see across, we have so that's our intake and conflict system. So then we also have our financial system, right? That where we then is when we enter our time, right? Or it's going to be at the matter and client level. So we're able to pull that seller information to deliver some certain reporting or insights. And then from there, we'll also our CRM system, but there's also a PMS and alumni system too. But ultimately, you want that standardization applied to the SALI taxonomies. That's a uniform classification, right? You want to speak the same language across all of these source systems. And then from there, we're storing it into a data lake, which is essentially our main data hub, our central repository that supports the ingestion, the standardization, governance, interoperability, and then also eventually you want to visualize advanced analytics or any other kind of business insights that you may want to pull from that.
The interesting thing too is that our data lake is not stood up yet. So we're able to still do all of this analysis off of flat files. So you really don't need to have that degree. It seems like it should be standard. Everyone should have some sort of data integration, but not everyone does. And even that is not a hindrance to improving your data quality.
Yeah, eventually our roadmap is our end goal is to have that data lake to store our unstructured and structured data. But right now you can put all these, we're working with Denis to essentially, it's almost like a batch processing where we send them monthly new matters and monthly new clients. And from there, we will store that into like a SharePoint folder. So we're able to do our pulls and our ETL from the SharePoint and upload it to our semantic model. So we leverage Power BI for a lot of our reporting.
And I think that's a great point that basically if you get the data right, everything else is it's wonderful to have really great systems and a great stack and great BI tools or whatever. But even if you just got a spreadsheet full of really accurate data, there's so much you can do with that. So it's one of the SALI sort of beliefs is that if you get that data right, sort of everything else falls from that. I think it's really interesting. I mean, we've got a few slides with example sort of queries that you can now run. I think it was super interesting what you were saying earlier about now you've got more granular, more accurate data, what sort of the impact that has sort of had within the firm. If you could, a couple of things about the demand, the consumption that you're seeing within the firm.
Yeah, but just this week, I think we've gotten 5 requests from our BD team. And the one request, it actually involved our client coding and our matter coding. So they wanted to see a list of tech clients that were owned by PE firms. And from there, they wanted to see matter level information. So and specifically at transactional practice. So we leveraged the service codes. And then for the transaction practice, we're able to you also drill down those because there's multiple matches. So we roll it up to like a parent level. So the transaction practice is at the parent level. So we can even look at to the more child level with the SALI taxonomies to look at MAA work or corporate transactions.
Another thing that we've started doing, which is again new to our firm, but probably not new to everyone, is that we make sure that all of our business development efforts are informed by the financial performance of either the client that we're looking to grow, or the industry that prospects work in. A lot of times our BD folks get really excited, and just because we have a client doesn't mean it's a good client. So we're able now to make sure that we're growing the right kinds of work, and we're able to have a go, no go review process for any potential clients.
But I think in general, would you say it's fair to say that the better the data, the more demand you get for the data?
Oh, 100%.
So it's kind of a poison chart. It's good and bad. Like,
But it also helps you manage resources, right? Because there are only so many hours, so many dollars you want to commit to certain projects. So this is definitely, it informs all of our decision making.
It's fantastic. So Marcie, I've got the sort of indicative, just to give an idea of the sort of analysis that they're now able to. I mean, if you want to talk through this, I can quickly, I can jump through the slides.
Sure. So this is kind of our typical process. We regularly do an analysis of what revenue streams our work is coming from. And this is kind of just an example of the digging down into insurance. Honestly, we haven't dug down into insurance because we don't love insurance clients. But this kind of gives you an idea. So you kind of start with your work streams, kind of what practices are most active. And then you can, for example, in industry, in insurance,
you can dig down.
I beg your pardon?
You just dig down from the parent level right down into the...
Exactly. So you can dig down and you can see what subsectors you're interested in either building or growing or whatever. And one thing that we should probably also note, Dennis, is when you participate in SALI coding, it's not just one area of law code and one service code and one industry code. You have multiple codes. You have like a primary area of law and service code, but then you have 2 or 3 subcodes. So that allows you to use that data to really refine what you're looking for and identify where the opportunities lie.
Exactly. So, and as Bryce was saying earlier, these examples are sort of using both the industry coding and then also the matter coding as well to sort of really define sort of white space opportunities. So, for example, if your firm has got an area of high growth, like they have, for example, a particular sector and a particular type of matter that is doing really well, then as long as you've got the right labeling across your data set, then you can bring up examples like, oh, we have other clients in this sector that we're not selling that sort of matter to. So this is sort of very high, sort of high value work to ask your attorneys to go and do. Like, you should call out these clients that, basically we're not doing regulatory work with that we really probably ought to be.
It also helps you balance the portfolio, right? Because if you, for example, get a leg in on commoditized work, and like we all hear our attorneys, we're just going to get a leg in. This is going to lead to better work. This is going to, we're going to have a high value work. And this helps you measure whether that's really happening. I mean, I think we all know that happens about 3% of the time. So this actually allows us to keep our attorneys honest.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for that. So a real impact. So basically, the more data you label, the more data you clean, the more impact you have is a learning. I think we can take that. And our final case study, it's very excitingly, is actually the organizer of this brilliant event. And we have Vanessa to talk about how they're using SALI codes in their new radar product.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Blum. I'm ALM's Vice President of Innovation. Thank you for coming out for this or tuning in. Thanks for being at Legal Week. I'm really excited to talk to you about what we're doing in the Law.com Radar product. Certainly, if there are any questions, shout them out or later, come up. We're doing some kind of complex things. So one of the hats I wear at ALM is I'm a developer of our Law.com Radar product, which is new suit alerting primarily for business development use cases. In 2023, we began an expansion from federal court system across the state courts of the United States. So we are now in 2,600 different county level trial courts collecting civil litigation in real time. One of the challenges our customers have and what we encountered in sort of making sense, finding insights in all this data is that state courts do not have a unified system of classifying cases. not even within a single state will you find, consistency around how they label cases. So if you're trying to do data analysis, if you're trying to set up effective alerting, you really have nothing to go on. You can't do effective alerting across state and federal courts. And we would see our customers come to us with string searches of, 26 different terms, strung together to find every possible way of identifying an employment discrimination case, for example. So we wanted to solve this problem for our customers, and we knew part of the answer was SALI. So like many here, we've been fans of SALI for a long time. We've been advocates for what they've been working on. We've been talking to them for years, and we had finally this kind of targeted use case. The reason we went with SALI, like I think a lot of folks up here, is we needed to be able to map all this state level civil litigation into a consistent taxonomy. Really smart people had already looked at those questions. They'd already developed the taxonomy. It was open source, there for us to use, but we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, and it gave us a huge jump start on this project that we began. So that's part of why we went with SALI. I'm going to tell you how we're doing it, which is, I think, pretty interesting. This is a complex task because the data input that we're using is the text of new complaints. So it's unstructured text, and it's really, really noisy. So what where we've arrived through a lot of experiments is we use a hybrid method to take that unstructured text and assign it into, the section we're using is SALI's civil litigation claims tags. So one of our methods is a machine learning model that was trained by subject matter experts that can ingest that text and apply these civil claims labels. We also use some, rules-based systems where we've programmed, the indicators of a particular category of case. We additionally have some layer of human review. We ingest about 7,000 new cases every single day. So there would be, as we saw from Denis, no possible way human beings could do this work and keep up with it in real time. And we don't endeavor to have a system that requires a lot of human interaction. But in our overall system, we already have humans that look at cases at different points in our pipeline. And when they are doing that work, they also, pay attention to those claims. So that's the how. And then what this means for our users is a few things. Because of the SALI claim enrichment of our data, our users can set up more targeted, more precise, and effective alerts for the cases they want to find that represent meaningful business opportunities for them. Maybe even more important, we've learned, is they can exclude all the cases that are not of interest. So if you were to set up a daily case report for litigation in Los Angeles, but you don't want to see lemon law claims, and you don't want to see slip and falls, and you'd rather not be distracted by auto negligence claims, the SALI layer makes it very easy for our customers just to put those types of cases to the side and get to the information that's meaningful for them. This activity of kind of new suit alerting and looking for these business development triggers needs to be conducted very quickly. Time is of the essence in reaching out to your clients or prospective clients. And most of our users, we know, get an alert on a case. They want to be able to glance at it and know if it's relevant to them or not. Again, because the data that we're intaking can be so unhelpful, having the SALI claims as part of the information that we can provide to them gives them, more insight into the case right from the start. So that's been very helpful. And then finally, and this kind of can't be overstated, by adopting SALI and embedding it into our product, we become more standardized, easier to integrate, interoperable with other solutions. If you're using a number of APIs and you want to query them in the same way, we have all the IFRS product. And I think we're still as an industry kind of on that journey, but I know that's where we're going. And so we're excited to be able to support that.
Great.
And just to wrap, I kind of want to just illustrate maybe tiny of the power of this. So on the left, you're looking at a newsfeed alerts from radar produced, in real time as we're adjusting case data. But case type, if you can't see it, says civil, other civil. That really doesn't give you a lot to work with, but if you need to get on the phone to a client. So if you look under at the claims, you're going to see employment claims, employment discrimination claims, age discrimination, sex and gender discriminations. And just with that layer of data enrichment right from the go, the user has so much more information about what's happening in that case. And that's all pulled from the raw unstructured text of the complaint, runs through these models to find it. So just the last thing I'll say is, it's been a really fun project, and we've had a ton of support from the SALI organization along the way, and just been delighted to work together.
Thanks very much, Vanessa. And, so I think these are Vanessa's example, and what we've seen from interaction and from Integrata is just showing the increasing interoperability that we're seeing within sort of the first two stakeholders, if you like, for SALI, the law firms and the vendors. They're starting to work together more, make it much easier in both cases to adopt SALI. And the third set of stakeholders has always been clients, the clients of law firms. So just to wrap up, Ron, who works Gartner, I'll leave it over to you just to speak a little to the sort of ultimate network effect of the clients.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ron Friedman. I'm an analyst in Gartner's legal practice. So my day job is I'm publishing research for clients and talking to 10 or 15 clients a week on a variety of topics, from generative AI to how they manage outside counsel and how they improve their own operations. And the clients are generally not as well equipped as law firms, right? So most clients, even pretty large ones, don't have some of the folks who are up here talking as data analysts, as people who understand how systems work, but they are becoming more interested in a better data layer. What's surprising is there's some clients I talk to and they have $10 or $20 million of external spend, and they don't have a matter management system for that. So that would be the number one tech priority for a lot of legal departments, is to manage external spend. Increasingly, however, more and more of our clients, with Gartner, my Gartner colleagues and I pushing them, it's like, oh, you need to start doing intake. And once you start doing intake, and it's just the beginning of the journey, you need to be able to know, well, what are the lawyers working on? What are those requests? And so service areas. Larry. Yeah, right. This, I tried out for comedy and I failed. So here you are, I'm talking about serious topics. So they can tag them with a variety. And I've mentioned, I'm on the SALI planning committee, which, by the way, the Gartner Ombudsman Office, for those of you who know Gartner and we avoid conflicts, signed off on. And I am suggesting to clients when we have conversations about document or knowledge management or intake or doing better, analyzing their external spend, they start thinking about using portions of the SALI codes to help have more granular and interoperable data. So it's beginning to happen. And for those of you in law firms, I think some of your clients would appreciate knowing that you understand this and that you can interoperate with them in the future, although you are ahead of most of them. I mean, there's some very sophisticated clients that's probably ready for this, but the mainstream ones, they're getting started. And so SALI continues to be a journey. So I've been on the planning committee, I think 3 or 4 years, and I'm seeing the progress in the industry. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks very much, Rob.
Yeah.
So we're the last talk of the day, and the bar is outside. So if there are any questions, we can quickly take them. But otherwise, please come and see. Please come and see any members of the panel afterwards. Oh, wait, we got a question.
It seemed like there was, before SALI, almost like VHS or Stapler, Redkern, there's ACN there. Everyone had their own, everyone had their own model of VCR, and it was like the white.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm listening to a webinar. I think it might be.
Oh, yeah. I'll try and mute everyone.
Question. Data is fault. That is why doesn't happen sooner? It seems so. It sounds like it's easier, right? But also should seem like it should have been attacked, right? And that was where decades ago. And I remember them filling out and take what and that they'll quote 300 deep, and they don't, right? And so I'm trying to understand where are we going? Why haven't this been universally often? Great question. I mean, so there are the incentives and there build this that could be any supportive of somebody. So the original group behind this was D3 group with Brown Bryce and Basista, and their incentive was the economy of the Barton. What we decided SALI instead of all these things. That's how it's like you see it. If you need to say, yeah, maybe we'll blame them. They haven't built it all roads. That's how it happens. If long say, hey, but they weren't done it or done it the wrong thing. So SALI was right, and maybe it's sort of more with client from our end.
But probably even the larger upswing is just incurable. Why do you want to change my codes? What's going on? And then it seems so overwhelming when you look at the thousands of SALI codes. But if you like an elephant, be it more by the times use what we need when the LLM technologies have advanced so much that it's not a heavy lift anymore. The machines can make it happen pretty quickly.
So I guess the question is, if SALI's been around not in 2017, but in 2007, what it happened there is it the technology now allows us to mass scale, even whether it's, it's funny, you're describing, 2,600 different civil jurisdictions and all different ways that I think about law firms internally, got 2,600 different chartered something, during the same matter, criminal, commercial, or M&A, right?
If they know we get the courts to adopt SALI, then we'll jab, and then we'll take a whole. I think that firms and legal providers are moving so fast and aggressively into just data exploitation, leveraging data, making some data and found in things like their data in a way that they probably weren't 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So the sort of thing we talked about earlier, it's that it needs that variety solution in a way. And suddenly you need to be able to answer questions based on data, being your law firm, leadership, the managing partner wants certain information, and you have to explaining, you can't actually get answer that question because the data hasn't been set up correctly. So that's the way I think see it. I'm a little bit up from the outside, but that first thing needs arose, and then SALI came in with a solution to it.
And frankly, as a Brit, speaking to America, I mean, the way you measure distances, why aren't you, doing the same as everyone else? I mean, there's some very deep-rooted cultural reasons why people.
So the idea of law firms working together to come up with that shared solution for processing where they know, even that, but they just kind of overcomes with your thought.
Ron, they can't hear us in the audience, so I'll repeat it.
A lot of law firms only about a decade ago started getting serious data. They're solving the secret and use of that their patient software that doing with our integrating data source. I want to say anything. Sorry, repeat the question, Jack. Scores of law data use, encouraging them to adopt some. The thing that I've involved now that it's starting to get some traction more than our spirit mass. The objection I typically hear, though, isn't the one you described. Although I think that is one that I think Jerry Ives instilled it to me much. And here I don't think that AI installs. And that is, it's probably there's a great reference point, but we're focused on this area. And so I like that you said about, you just make one thing one. But that's one issue. But the other is they want to be more granular. They want to focus on things that they just don't think SALI covers. So maybe it's because they looked at it when it was less mature than it is today. I don't know. But how do you deal with the fact that, they'll constantly say it's such a valuable resource, check R to see what we're missing, to see but now because we're so deep in this water areas.
Jim, do you want to repeat the question for anyone online?
So what Barry said, Barry was saying that the firms that haven't adopted are focused on their thing. So I think that if they compare it against SALI and we cover most of it, then they just need to map to the SALI to become SALI compliant. I mean, that's possible. And to the point about tech, Gen AI is definitely picking it up, no question. And that was a hindrance because manual tagging is so time consuming. And that's what also we talked about firms building their own. They finally figured out we don't need to build our own. Now they know they don't have to manual tag as much in the future. So I think it's going to pick up speed.
I think to Barry's point as well, I think we have been able to make the codes a lot more granular in certain areas. And like say, for example, we roughly map to NAICS codes in the industry sector, for example. Now, that's pretty granular and we can make it even a little more granular. But even thinking about that in the past would have been just bananas because it's like 2,000 codes. So it's only because of the introduction of the LLMs that will do the labeling for you. I mean, if you look at the NAICS, like the guide, the friendly user guide for NAICS is 1,000 pages. So like you could just never have contemplated adopting that complexity of code base. We think that the game has changed sort of quite fundamentally with the introduction of LLMs because you just can, to your point, you can be more granular. You can design a set of codes that, I mean, they're not going to have the umpteenth degree for every single firm, but they're going to go a long way in that direction.
I mean, and it's hard for me to believe that there's so many data points you can collect through SALI in so many ways you can find matters. You can correct. I can't imagine that there's not a way to cross-reference all of those data points to get as granular as you need to be. And make it there is. I think that there's been a unintended focus on let's build this out. But we think that there needs to be the big LLMs will make it easier a way to map what part of this you do stand your point. Because I try to explain, they read multiple times more that to that run with detail. Yeah. But whatever, I acknowledge this conversation over and over again, which is love it, great reference. But then I'm going to look at the bit and I think they will great to come up with kind of best practice around implementation. Yeah, this work. Yes. So
we've designed an implementation playbook we've been working on for a while, which goes through how to think about it. What do you need to consider? That's one. Number two, we want to do a law firm off the shelf code set. If I'm a law firm, think about it. What do I typically need if I'm an AmLaw 100 firm? We can probably name them off the top of our head or a lot of it. So we want to do that and offer it as something that people can then. It's kind of like you're saying, it's a reference, but also for those who want to change over, it's a thing. They don't have to go figure out the codes they need.
I'm not from me. I'm kind of
okay.
And just a final point on that, like it's now so easy to just create a pilot data set. Like you can return it within the hour or whatever. Someone just sends over a flat file, or you give them access to an API, and they can just see exactly what the code's going to look like. So they can just you literally put it in front of them. And I mean, we've seen this time and time again. People are like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So I think it's more showing the data very quickly that can really sort of change. Because as you say, gut fillers was no. At our shop, we do it this way, and you'll never have, and showing them what's actually capable. It seems to be a major, if you like, relaxing sort of process.
Or question?
Sorry, there was a question here. Sorry.
In response to that perspective, my answer is always. There are sideline, there's a one conversation, you can selling them, and how do you keep the party journey more, join that in conversations, intense that, so that's not everybody agrees with that approach. There are still there in-house on-run taxonomy, but it's very special and cannot be shared, and it's, the rest of me built it. And that's what makes it so out, right? Also, you can link your taxonomy to the South taxonomy to like.
And we're glad to consider ones you want to add.
We can get rid of our own taxonomy.
Are they right?
Taxonomy still in this. We just don't use it.
Your question, Mecca?
Last 10 to 15 years of the evolution of the business law. So you see the teams grow and systems grow, part relying on the professionals. Part of that was the full need, and a lot of those areas are data progress. So they have the time,
exactly,
abilities, and the need that they want. And so and the infrastructure. And then as this technology is coming into play and that's all marrying together, and the professionals can the rest of the do so, it's really ramming up even more so because the lawyers want the answers of the question and it's very so.
So the point was about how the business of law has changed and the data needs to support that. I can tell you the time I've been involved in SALI, the people like Bryce weren't around 5-6 years ago too much, right? Data, right? I mean, you're titling me. And so the roles have changed with the times and they need data, and people like this are recognizing how we can utilize SALI for it.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, everyone. Great. I'm sorry, we did nearly take an hour as well. Anyway, drinks are available. Thank you all.
Cheers.